President Amanda Thorne straightened her navy blue suit jacket as she approached the towering crystal podium. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation stretched before her, its vast amphitheater filled with representatives from over 300 species. Floating platforms carried delegates from gaseous worlds, while temperature-controlled chambers housed ambassadors from methane-based civilizations. She felt the weight of 7 billion humans resting on her shoulders. After 50 years of preparation following first contact, Earth had finally earned its place among the stars. The verification process had been grueling. Countless tests of technological advancement, social stability, and psychological readiness. Some species had taken centuries to gain membership. Earth had done it in 5 decades. Distinguished members of the Confederation. Thorne began, her voice clear and steady. Today marks not just another session of interstellar diplomacy, but a turning point in our shared history. The universal translators hummed, converting her words into hundreds of languages and communication formats. From her position, she could see the Kraxan delegation, their scaled faces impossible to read, but their rigid posture speaking volumes. The militant empire had opposed Earth's membership from the start, citing humanity's aggressive tendencies and dangerous unpredictability. The irony wasn't lost on Thorne. The Kraxan had conquered 12 systems before the Confederation forced them to the negotiating table. Earth proposes a new initiative for open technology exchange. She continued, activating the holographic display. Complex diagrams materialized in the air, showing innovative approaches to quantum computing, renewable energy, and medical breakthroughs. Our species may be young, but we've learned that progress accelerates through collaboration, not isolation. Movement caught her eye. A Kraxan aide was making his way along the upper gallery, something odd about his gait. Security protocols strictly regulated movement during presidential addresses, but many species had different customs about showing respect. She pushed the thought aside and focused on her speech. The human approach to problem-solving offers unique perspectives. Where others see limitations, we see possibilities. Where tradition dictates caution, we dare to experiment. This isn't recklessness, it's hope made manifest through action. The Confederation's primary speaker, a towering meridian with crystalline features, leaned forward with interest. Several delegations were already accessing the technical data through their neural interfaces, quiet murmurs of surprise rippling through the chamber. We understand the concerns some have raised about Earth's rapid advancement, Thorne acknowledged, her gaze sweeping across the hall. But consider this. In less than 3 centuries, we went from combustion engines to faster-than-light travel. We did this not through conquest or theft, but through innovation and determination. The Kraxan aide had reached a position directly above her platform. Warning bells rang in Thorne's mind, but protocol and diplomacy kept her rooted in place. To stop now would be seen as weakness. Earth extends an open hand to all members of the Confederation, even those who opposed our membership. The future belongs not to those who cling to power, but to those brave enough to share it. A shot came without warning. A beam of concentrated particles, ancient technology banned for millennia, struck Thorne in the chest. The energy signature was specifically chosen. It bypassed her personal shields, designed to stop modern weapons. The Kraxan had done their homework. As she fell, time seemed to slow. She saw the horror on alien faces, tentacles and appendages raised in shock. The Meridian speaker's crystalline form flashed red with alarm. Security forces converged too late, their weapons tracking the fleeing assassin. Her last thoughts weren't of fear or anger, but of hope. She knew her people, knew how they would respond. The Kraxan had just made the biggest mistake in their empire's history. President Amanda Thorne died before she hit the polished floor of the Grand Assembly Hall. Her death, broadcast across every neural feed in the galaxy, lasted 2.3 seconds. The silence that followed lasted an eternity. In the chaos that erupted, no one noticed the small smile that had frozen on her lips. No one except the Kraxan ambassador, who felt the first cold tremor of fear run down his scaled spine. He had opposed this assassination, had warned his superiors about studying Earth's history more carefully. Humans had a saying his cultural advisors had highlighted: never strike a king unless you strike to kill. The Kraxan had struck Earth's leader, but they had forgotten the most important part. They hadn't struck humanity's heart. That heart was about to beat with a fury the galaxy had never seen. The silence lasted 12 hours. Every human ship in Confederation space went dark, their transponders falling silent as they altered course for Earth. Trading vessels, diplomatic shuttles, and research craft moved with eerie precision, their coordinated exodus sending shivers through observation posts across the galaxy. Inside the United Earth Defense Command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Rodriguez stared at the holographic display showing the positions of Earth's combined fleet. Representatives from every major military power stood around the table, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of tactical projections. The Chinese carriers are in position, Admiral Lin reported, her voice tight with controlled anger. Russian battle groups have synchronized with Indian defense platforms. European rapid response forces await your command. Rodriguez nodded, his weathered face masking the storm of emotions beneath. And the prototype fleet. Black Site 7 reports the Nighthawk vessels are ready for deployment. President Thorne's death activated multiple fail-safe protocols. We now have access to technologies that were deemed too volatile for peacetime use. The room grew quieter at that revelation. Everyone present knew about the Black Sites, the hidden research facilities where Earth's most dangerous innovations were developed and contained. Projects that could have given humanity an edge in Confederation politics, but had been held back due to ethical concerns. Begin Phase 1, Rodriguez ordered. Activate the quantum mesh. Screens across the command center flickered as Earth's most closely guarded secret came online. A network of quantum-entangled satellites, hidden in dimensional pocket space, suddenly linked every human military asset in the solar system. The technology had been ready for decades, but President Thorne had insisted it remain inactive, believing that trust was better than technological superiority. That trust had died with her on the Confederation floor. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, "we're receiving diplomatic requests from 37 Confederation species. They're asking about our communications blackout." "Let them wonder," Rodriguez replied. "For 3 decades, they treated us like children playing with tools we didn't understand. Time to show them what the children can do." The first strikes came exactly 24 hours after Thorne's assassination. Simultaneous attacks across 3 Kraxan star systems, targeting military installations with surgical precision. Human ships appeared from nowhere, their new quantum drives making conventional defense grids useless. They struck with devastating accuracy, destroying billions in military hardware without a single casualty. In the Kraxan capital, Supreme Commander Vex Thor watched in rage as reports flooded in. Orbital shipyards reduced to debris. Weapons platforms disabled with electromagnetic pulses calibrated to their exact frequencies. Manufacturing centers stripped of critical components by infiltration teams that seemed to phase through solid matter. "Impossible," he snarled, his scales darkening with fury. Their technology was assessed. They shouldn't have these capabilities. His aide, trembling slightly, handed him another report. "Sir, we're detecting unusual activity in their entertainment networks. Human cultural content is being accessed at unprecedented rates across our territories. Our youth are particularly interested." Vex Thor crushed the report in his clawed hand. The humans weren't just attacking military targets. They were launching a cultural invasion. His own daughter had been caught watching something called music videos just yesterday. Back on Earth, General Rodriguez received the preliminary damage assessments. Phase 1 complete. All objectives achieved. 0 casualties as ordered. The Kraxan are scrambling to understand how we bypassed their defenses. Admiral Lin allowed herself a small smile. They thought we showed them everything during the membership verification process. They never considered we might be holding back our best technologies. That was President Thorne's strategy all along. Rodriguez said, bringing up her image on the main display. She knew someday we might face this kind of threat. The black sites, the hidden fleets, the quantum mesh, it was all insurance against the day when diplomacy failed. He turned to face the assembled leaders of Earth's combined military forces. The Kraxan killed our leader, thinking they were putting the primitive humans in their place. Instead, they've awakened something they can't control. President Thorne believed in peace through understanding. Now they'll learn about peace through strength. The assembled commanders nodded grimly. Phase 2 was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity's rapid advancement had frightened so many species. They hadn't evolved quickly because they were reckless. They had evolved quickly because they were capable of so much more. The Kuiper Belt facility, known as Area 87, had never officially existed. Buried within a hollowed-out dwarf planet, its quantum-shielded laboratories housed projects that made even hardened military officials uncomfortable. Now, as Dr. James Harrison walked through its pristine white corridors, those projects were finally seeing the light of day. The Glass Protocol is ready for deployment, he announced to the holographic faces of Earth's Joint Military Command. All test parameters have been exceeded. The AI networks are operating at full capacity. General Rodriguez's projection nodded grimly. Explain it to our allies, Doctor. Some of them haven't been briefed on the full capabilities. Harrison gestured, and complex neural maps filled the air around him. Imagine an artificial intelligence that doesn't just predict enemy movements, but understands the cultural, psychological, and biological factors that drive their decisions. The Glass Protocol doesn't just see through enemy defenses, it sees through enemy minds. The Russian general leaned forward, her eyes sharp. You're saying it can predict Kraxan strategy? Better, Harrison smiled. It can manipulate it. Every Kraxan battle doctrine, every cultural imperative, every biological response. The protocol understands them better than they understand themselves. We've been gathering data on them since first contact. In another section of Area 87, Dr. Sarah Peterson was overseeing the activation of the quantum entanglement drives. The massive rings pulsed with ethereal energy, breaking physics in ways that would give Confederation scientists nightmares. Traditional space combat relies on predictable jump points, she explained to the observers. The Kraxan built their empire by controlling these strategic locations. Our drives ignore them completely. We can appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. The Chinese admiral's hologram looked troubled. The energy requirements must be astronomical. Peterson's laugh echoed through the chamber. That's the beauty of it. We solved the energy crisis a decade ago. The technology was deemed too disruptive to the global economy. President Thorne kept it here, wanting humanity to develop more. Conventional solutions first. Deep in the facility's secure wing, the most controversial project was stirring to life. The Swarm Intelligence Weapons Platform represented everything humanity had feared about its own potential for innovation. Microscopic machines, each one smarter than the most advanced Confederation computer, could work together in infinite combinations. They could disassemble matter at the atomic level, reconstruct technology on the fly, or infiltrate any security system ever devised. We never deployed them because they scared us. Dr. Marcus Chen admitted to the command staff. The potential for misuse was too high. But the Kraxan need to understand. Humanity's restraint wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. The first reports of the new technologies in action reached Area 87 within hours. Kraxan battleships found their quantum-encrypted communications networks speaking in human voices. Defense installations discovered their weapon systems had been reconstructed into entertainment centers, broadcasting human media. The Glass Protocol predicted and countered every Kraxan response before their commanders even finished formulating their orders. The quantum drives made conventional defense grids obsolete. The swarm weapons turned the Empire's most advanced technology against them. Sir, a junior technician called out, we're detecting unusual readings from the Kraxan homeworld. Their central military command seems to be dancing. Harrison checked the feeds and allowed himself a small chuckle. The swarm found their sonic transmission network. Apparently, they're very susceptible to something called disco fever. But beneath the almost playful application of Earth's hidden technology lay a deadly serious message. Humanity had never been the primitive species the Confederation assumed. They had been holding back, developing in secret, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. In his private office, Harrison studied President Thorne's last classified directive. "If these technologies must be used," she had written, "let them serve as a reminder. Humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons, but in our ability to choose when not to use them." He looked up at the live feeds showing Kraxan ships fleeing from battles they couldn't comprehend, their mighty empire being systematically dismantled by technologies they hadn't believed possible. "We chose peace," he whispered to Thorne's memory. "They chose war. Now they learn why we worked so hard to avoid it." The hidden strength of humanity wasn't in its secret weapons. It was in the wisdom to keep them hidden until absolutely necessary. That wisdom had died with President Thorne, and now the galaxy would understand why even she had feared humanity's full potential. The Kraxan High Command never saw the infiltration team coming. One moment their central fortress on Cax Prime was secure. The next, every screen in the facility displayed the same image: President Thorne's last smile before the assassination. Lieutenant Sarah Winters and her ghost squad moved like shadows through quantum space, their enhanced bodies phasing between dimensional planes. The technology was experimental, dangerous, and exactly what humanity needed. "Target acquired," she whispered into her neural comm. The enhanced soldiers of Ghost Squad had undergone modifications that would have been illegal in peacetime. Now those modifications made them practically invisible to Kraxan bioscanners. The mission was simple: psychological warfare on an unprecedented scale. While the main Earth fleet engaged in conventional battles as a distraction, special operations teams like Ghost Squad struck at the heart of Kraxan power. "Leave the package," Winters ordered. Her team placed quantum-locked boxes in strategic locations throughout the fortress. In 6 hours, they would activate, releasing carefully crafted mimetic weapons into the Kraxan command network. In orbit above Cax Prime, Commander Jason Chen watched the operation through his neural feed. The Nighthawk-class stealth vessel under his command hung in space, completely invisible to Kraxan sensors. These ships were another of humanity's hidden advantages, incorporating technology that bent light, gravity, and probability itself. "Ghost Squad is clear," he reported to Earth Command, beginning Phase 2 of Operation Mindstorm. Across Kraxan space, human psychological warfare units deployed their most potent weapons: truth and creativity. Classified documents revealing corruption among Kraxan leadership began appearing on public networks. Entertainment channels were hijacked, replacing militant propaganda with human stories of freedom and self-determination. The Kraxan Empire had no defense against this kind of warfare. Their society, built on strict hierarchy and unquestioning obedience, began to crack under the pressure of new ideas. "Sir," a junior officer called out on Chen's bridge, "the mimetic weapons are active. Kraxan communication networks are experiencing widespread disruption." Chen smiled grimly. The disruption was carefully designed to exploit Kraxan psychology. Their rigid minds, evolved for order and conformity, were particularly vulnerable to human concepts of individual choice and personal freedom. On the planet below, Winters and her team were already moving to their next target. Their enhanced bodies could operate for days without rest, their modified minds resistant to Kraxan psychic defenses. "Multiple high-value targets acquired," she reported, beginning social infiltration protocol. This was the true power of Ghost Squad. Beyond their physical capabilities, they were trained to blend into alien societies, to spread ideas that acted like viruses in the Kraxan collective consciousness. Back on Earth, General Rodriguez reviewed the operation's progress. "The Kraxan expected us to fight like them," he explained to the Joint Chiefs. "They prepared for massive fleet battles, for planetary sieges, for all the traditional forms of warfare. Instead, we're fighting them with ideas they can't shoot and soldiers they can't see. The strategy was working. Reports from across Kraxan space showed increasing unrest. Young Kraxan were questioning their elders' decisions. Colonial worlds were demanding autonomy. The mighty empire was being defeated not by superior firepower, but by superior imagination. In her quantum-shifted state, Winters watched a group of Kraxan youth secretly sharing human music. The songs spoke of revolution, of breaking chains, of choosing one's own path. Ideas that were radioactive to Kraxan society. "Command," she transmitted, "the cultural infection is spreading faster than predicted. Requesting permission to accelerate timeline." Chen received the request aboard his Nighthawk. "Granted, Ghost Squad. Show them why humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology." Across Kraxan space, hidden quantum boxes activated. Holographic projectors came to life. And everywhere, President Thorne's final speech played on endless loop. The future belongs not to those who cling to power, but to those brave enough to share it. The Kraxan Empire had killed Earth's leader, expecting humanity to respond with brute force. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't understand, using weapons they couldn't counter, losing a war they didn't even know how to fight. This was humanity's true strength, the ability to change the rules of engagement, to fight not just with weapons, but with ideas. And ideas, as the Kraxan were learning, were the hardest things in the galaxy to kill. Director Emily Sullivan stood in the Global Entertainment Command Center, watching as thousands of data streams poured into Kraxan space. Her team had spent years studying alien psychology, preparing for a cultural offensive that would make traditional warfare look primitive. "Release the next wave," she ordered, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Let's show them what Earth's creative minds can really do." The assault began with music, not the military marches the Kraxan expected, but the raw, emotional power of human artistic expression. Rock anthems of rebellion echoed through Kraxan halls. Hip-hop beats carried messages of individual expression. Classical symphonies stirred emotions their species had long suppressed. "Ma'am," her deputy director called out, "we're seeing unprecedented engagement rates. Kraxan youth are downloading human content faster than their authorities can block it." On the main screen, heat maps showed the spread of Earth's cultural influence. Red dots represented secret viewing parties where young Kraxan gathered to watch human entertainment. Blue lines tracked the underground spread of Earth fashion, scaled versions of human clothing, modified for Kraxan biology, but carrying the same symbolic weight of rebellion. "They never understood," Sullivan mused, watching the data flow. "They thought our entertainment was just distraction. They never realized it was the source of our strength." In a secret bunker beneath Times Square, the best minds from Hollywood, Bollywood, and every major entertainment hub worked tirelessly. Writers, directors, and artists crafted content specifically designed to resonate with Kraxan psychology. "The latest simulation is ready," announced Mark Chen, head of the Cultural Warfare Division. "A story about a young Kraxan who questions their hierarchical system. We've coded it to bypass their cultural firewalls." The story spread like wildfire through Kraxan networks. Parents watched in horror as their children began asking questions that had been forbidden for generations. Why did rank determine worth? Why couldn't individuals choose their own paths? What made the Empire's ways superior to human democracy? "Sir," a monitoring technician reported, "we're detecting the first instances of Kraxan street art. They're recreating human graffiti styles with their own bioluminescent pigments." Sullivan smiled. The transformation was happening faster than anyone had predicted. Kraxan society, rigid and hierarchical for millennia, was experiencing its first cultural revolution, and humanity was feeding the flames. The next phase targeted Kraxan social structures directly. Reality shows depicting human families made Kraxan question their clan systems. Documentaries about Earth's scientific achievements challenged their belief in technological superiority. Even human cooking shows became weapons, introducing the concept of individual taste to a species that had always eaten standardized nutrient paste. They're starting to compose their own music, reported Dr. Sarah Martinez, chief cinecultural analyst. Fusion styles, mixing their traditional war chants with human rhythms. The cultural cross-pollination has begun. In the heart of the Kraxan Empire, Supreme Commander Vexthor faced a crisis unlike any in their history. Military solutions were useless against this invasion. How do you fight an enemy that turns your own children into willing collaborators? The humans call it soft power, his cultural advisor explained, trying not to show fear. Their entertainment carries their values, their dreams, their way of thinking. Our youth don't see it as propaganda. They see it as liberation. Back in the command center, Sullivan received reports of the first Kraxan pop bands, the first underground fashion shows, the first independent media broadcasts. The mighty empire was transforming from within, and there wasn't a thing their leaders could do to stop it. President Thorne understood this, she told her team, projecting their fallen leader's image. She knew that humanity's greatest export wasn't our technology or our weapons. It was our creativity, our ability to imagine different futures and share those visions with others. The screen showed Kraxan youth gathering in secret, sharing banned human content, creating their own art, their own music, their own future. They had killed Earth's leader, but in doing so, they had exposed their entire society to something far more powerful than any weapon: human culture. Continue the broadcast, Sullivan ordered. Show them who we really are. Not just warriors or diplomats, but dreamers and creators. Show them why killing President Thorne was their greatest mistake. Because now, nothing will stop the flow of ideas. The Cultural Revolution had begun, and the Kraxan Empire would never be the same. Admiral Michael Torres watched the holographic display as another Kraxan financial center collapsed. The humans hadn't fired a single shot. They didn't need to. The complex web of economic warfare had done more damage than any fleet battle could achieve. Status report, he commanded, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Their stock markets are in free fall, reported Financial Warfare Officer Lisa Chen. The quantum algorithms predicted this exact cascade effect. When we exposed their hidden slave trade operations, their legitimate businesses started losing partners faster than we anticipated. The strategy had been brilliant in its simplicity. Rather than destroying Kraxan infrastructure, humanity's covert teams had simply revealed the truth about how it was built. Decades of corruption, exploitation, and hidden crimes laid bare for the galaxy to see. The Confederation Trade Council is voting on sanctions, another officer announced. 17 species have already suspended all economic activities with Kraxan space. Torres nodded, remembering President Thorne's words about the power of transparency. The Kraxan Empire had built its wealth on shadows and secrets. Now those shadows were being burned away by the harsh light of truth. Deep in Kraxan territory, Ghost Squad teams continued their precision strikes. Instead of destroying data centers, they copied and broadcast their contents. Rather than sabotaging slave labor camps, they freed the workers and documented the conditions. Sir, Lieutenant Winters reported through her quantum comm, Package Delta is live. Every financial transaction the Empire has made in the last 50 years is now public knowledge. The impact was devastating. Trading partners fled as evidence of systematic fraud emerged. Colonial worlds, discovering they'd been deliberately kept in debt, declared independence. The mighty economic engine of the Kraxan Empire began to sputter and die. Their military contractors are abandoning them, Chen noted with satisfaction. No one wants to be associated with an empire that uses slave labor to build warships. But the true masterstroke came from an unexpected direction. Earth's entertainment networks, already deep inside Kraxan society, began running documentaries about economic freedom and individual enterprise. Young Kraxan, inspired by human business success stories, started demanding the right to own property, to trade freely, to choose their own careers. Their whole system is based on central control, Torres explained to his staff. When their youth started questioning why they couldn't start their own businesses like humans do, the Empire lost its last hold on power. In the Kraxan capital, the High Command watched helplessly as their careful economic controls crumbled. Centuries of manipulation and force had created an empire that looked powerful from the outside, but was hollow within. General Rodriguez, Torres called through the quantum link. Phase 6 is complete. Their economy is no longer sustainable. Military assets are being abandoned as funding disappears. On Earth, Rodriguez reviewed the reports with grim satisfaction. The Kraxan had expected humanity to seek revenge through military might. Instead, they had dismantled an empire by simply exposing its lies. Begin Phase 7, he ordered. It's time to show them what justice looks like. Throughout Kraxan space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. Every screen, every neural feed, every communication device broadcasts the same message. A complete record of the conspiracy that killed President Thorne, traced through financial transactions, communication logs, and surveillance data. The beauty of it, Torres mused, watching the empire crumble, is that we didn't have to destroy anything. They built their own destruction into their system. We just showed everyone where to look. The Kraxan Empire, which had stood for thousands of years, was breaking apart not from external forces, but from within. Their own people, armed with truth and inspired by human ideals of freedom, were dismantling the structures of power that had controlled them for generations. Send the final message, Torres commanded. On screens across Kraxan space, President Thorne's face appeared one last time. Her words, spoken just before her death, echoed through an empire in collapse. The future belongs not to those who cling to power, but to those brave enough to share it. The Kraxan had killed Earth's leader, thinking they were eliminating a threat. Instead, they had unleashed something far more dangerous than any weapon. The power of truth in the hands of those who understood how to use it. The Galactic Confederation Grand Assembly Hall fell silent as the prisoners were led in. The same chamber that had witnessed President Thorne's assassination now hosted something unprecedented, a public trial of an empire's leadership. Supreme Justice Elena Martinez stood at the same podium where Thorne had fallen. Her black robes, trimmed with the silver of Earth's judicial authority, seemed to absorb the light around her. The message was clear. Humanity would have justice, not revenge. The Court of Human and Galactic Rights is now in session, she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the galaxy through quantum broadcasts. The United Peoples of Earth versus the Kraxan High Command and their conspirators. Former Supreme Commander Vexthor and his inner circle stood in the defendant's box, their scales dulled by captivity. They had expected execution when Ghost Squad materialized in their secret bunker. Instead, they received something their warrior culture understood even less: due process. The prosecution may present its evidence, Martins declared. Director Nathan Chen of Earth's Justice Department stepped forward, activating a holographic display that filled the chamber. The conspiracy to assassinate President Thorne wasn't just an act of violence, he began. It was the desperate gambit of a dying empire. The evidence unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance. Financial records showed payments to the assassins. Quantum encrypted communications revealed the planning. Surveillance data captured every meeting, every order, every attempt to hide their tracks. But there's more, Chen continued, his voice hardening. The assassination was merely the final act of a species that had built its power on slavery, exploitation, and genocide. The chamber erupted in murmurs as evidence of centuries of Kraxan crimes appeared in the air. Concentration camps on mining worlds, genetic experiments on subject populations, entire species reduced to servitude through engineered plagues and economic warfare. The defendants believe we brought them here for revenge. Chen addressed the assembled diplomats. They expect the primitive humans to demand blood for blood. Instead, we offer something far more powerful: transparent justice. In the diplomatic gallery, Lieutenant Winters watched with her Ghost Squad team, now publicly acknowledged as the ones who had captured the Kraxan leadership. Their enhanced bodies had made them perfect soldiers, but it was their humanity that had made them choose capture over killing. The prosecution calls its first witness, Chen announced, former Kraxan Cultural Minister Zexful. The aging Kraxan approached the stand, his movements showing the weight of conscience rather than years. He had been the first to contact Earth secretly, providing crucial intelligence that helped expose the conspiracy. "Tell us, Minister," Chen began, "why did the High Command fear President Thorne so much?" Zexful's testimony painted a picture of an empire terrified not by human weapons, but by human ideas. "She showed our youth that there was another way to live," he explained, "not through force and domination, but through cooperation and individual choice." The trial continued for 7 Earth days. Each session was broadcast across the galaxy, a masterclass in judicial procedure. Human prosecutors presented evidence methodically, defense attorneys ensured fair representation, and judges maintained rigorous standards of law. "The defendants have been found guilty," Justice Martinez announced on the final day. The chamber held its breath, expecting death sentences. Their punishment will be to witness the transformation of their empire into a democracy, to live as equals among those they once oppressed, and to spend their lives working to repair the damage they caused. Vexthor's scales darkened with rage. "Death would be better," he snarled. "We know," Martins replied calmly. "That's precisely why it's not your sentence." As the defendants were led away, General Rodriguez approached the podium. President Thorne believed in the power of justice over vengeance. He addressed the galaxy. "Today, we honor that belief. The Kraxan Empire isn't destroyed. It's transformed. Its people are free to choose their own path, to join the galactic community as equals rather than conquerors." In the empty chamber later that night, Martinez stood where Thorne had fallen. A memorial plaque now marked the spot, its quantum-etched surface catching the starlight from the dome above. The words were simple but powerful. Here fell a leader who believed in justice. Here rose a people who proved her right. The Kraxan had killed Earth's leader, expecting humanity to respond with barbarism. Instead, they received something far more powerful. The cold, inexorable force of justice, served not with hatred, but with unwavering principle. 1 year after President Thorne's assassination, the Galactic Confederation gathered once again in its Grand Assembly Hall. The chamber had changed. The podium now stood on a platform of transparent quantum crystal, allowing speakers to see the memorial beneath their feet. Secretary General Michael Chen, Earth's new representative, surveyed the transformed political landscape. Former Kraxan colonies, now independent democracies, occupied their own seats. The mighty empire had evolved into the Kraxan Democratic Federation, its young leaders educated in human universities. "We gather today," Chen began, "not to celebrate victory, but to embrace transformation. 1 year ago, an act of violence was meant to silence humanity. Instead, it unleashed our greatest strength, our ability to change the galaxy not through force, but through inspiration." The diplomatic courts had named it the Thorne Doctrine, the principle that true power lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to transform. Earth had demonstrated this in ways that still stunned the galactic community. The numbers speak for themselves. Chen continued, activating the holographic displays. Trade between former Kraxan worlds has increased by 300%. Scientific collaboration has produced breakthroughs in quantum physics, medical technology, and environmental restoration. Lieutenant Sarah Peters, formerly of Ghost Squad, watched from the gallery. Her enhanced body had been restored to normal at her request, like many of her colleagues. They had been weapons of necessity. Now they chose to be builders of peace. "But our greatest achievement," Chen said, his voice carrying emotion that no translator could fully convey, "is measured in the dreams of children. Kraxan youth now attend universities alongside humans. Their art galleries display works that blend our cultures. Their music carries rhythms from Earth and melodies from the stars. The evidence of change filled the chamber. Delegation members wore clothes that mixed traditional Craxan patterns with human fashion. Representatives communicated through neural networks designed by joint human Craxan engineering teams. President Thorne once stood here and offered an open hand to the galaxy, Chen reminded them. Her killers thought they were striking at humanity's weakness. Instead, they revealed our greatest strength, our ability to turn enemies into allies, fear into hope, and vengeance into justice. In the Craxan capital, now renamed New Haven, former Supreme Commander Vexthor watched the broadcast from a public rehabilitation center. His work helping young Craxan understand their history was part of his sentence, a punishment more profound than death. The Thorne Initiative begins today, Chen announced, unveiling humanity's new galactic policy. Earth commits its resources not to weapons of war, but to tools of transformation. Our black sites now develop cures for diseases. Our quantum technology serves to connect rather than infiltrate. But beneath the words of peace lay a clear warning. The same capabilities that had dismantled an empire remained, not as threats, but as reminders. Democracy came with sharp teeth. Humanity had proved that beyond doubt. We invite all species to join us, Chen concluded, not in domination or submission, but in collaboration. President Thorne's dream wasn't just about human advancement. It was about showing the galaxy a better way to grow, to learn, and to live. The applause that followed wasn't just diplomatic courtesy. It was recognition of a fundamental shift in galactic politics. Earth had demonstrated a new kind of power, the strength to change minds rather than end lives. General Rodriguez, watching from Earth's command center, allowed himself a small smile. President Thorne would have approved, he murmured. We didn't just win a war. We made sure it was the last one we needed to fight. As delegates filed out of the chamber, many paused at the memorial plaque. Its message had been updated, now reading in every galactic language. Here fell a leader who believed in transformation. Here rose a species who proved her right. Here begins a future built not on fear, but on hope. The Craxan had killed Earth's leader, expecting to crush a rising power. Instead, they had catalyzed something unprecedented. A revolution not of weapons, but of ideas. Humanity had shown the galaxy that true strength lay not in the ability to destroy worlds, but in the power to change them. As the stars wheeled above the assembly hall, Earth's message echoed clear across the cosmos. Democracy comes with sharp teeth, and humanity knew exactly when to bare them and when to smile.